Erdogan wins re-election in Turkey. AMLO leads with 18 points to closest rival. Flights to the quarterfinals from Mexico start at 32,000 pesos, and more foreigners are buying real estate in Mexico. Hello and welcome to today's edition of Mexico News Network's Breaking News Business. I'm Elliot Bullman. Let's go to the information. Turkey's long-standing leader, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, has won the country's presidential poll in the first round, the election authority chief says. Sadi Güven, Turkey's Supreme Election Board chief, said 97.7% of the votes were counted, and the votes that have not been tallied so far don't change the outcome. With his victory, Erdogan will gain sweeping new powers when he resumes office. He narrowly won a referendum last year to transform the country's parliamentary system to a powerful executive presidency in what his critics called a blatant power grab. The results were a blow to Erdogan's closest rival, Muharrem İnce, and his Republican People's Party, known as the CHP, who had seemed on the verge of forcing the president into a damaging runoff and denying the AKP-MHP alliance a parliamentary majority. Around 59 million people were eligible to vote in both presidential and parliamentary elections on Sunday. Erdogan said the participation rate was 90%, an extraordinarily high number for any election. Erdogan has dominated Turkish politics since his rise as prime minister in 2003 and has transformed the nation. However, Erdogan himself called the snap elections 18 months early as he faces battles on several fronts. Turkish voters are feeling the pain of soaring inflation, a plunging currency, and high interest rates as the economy falters. And the normally splintered opposition is largely united against him for the first time in years. By offering a wider than usual range of presidential candidates, the opposition had hoped to split the vote enough ways to leave the front-runner with less than 50% of the ballots. In related news, a week before the elections, Andrés Manuel López Obrador extended his advantage to almost 18 percentage points over his closest rival, Ricardo Anaya, according to the latest Consulta Mitofsky poll published on Sunday. The candidate of the coalition, Juntos Haremos Historia, obtained 37.7% of the gross preference and 48.1% of the effective preferences in the survey conducted between June the 16th and the 19th. In second place was Ricardo Anaya, candidate of the Por México al Frente coalition, with 20% of the gross preference, while the effective one obtained 25.5%. José Antonio Meade from the All for Mexico Alliance ranked third with 17.7% in gross preference and 22.5% in effective, while the independent Jaime Rodríguez Calderón El Bronco attained 3.1% and 3.9% in effective preferences. The result of the electoral preferences measured 12 days ahead of the election shows a result very similar to the one reported since April, with the clear leader continuing to be López Obrador, the survey highlighted. Following on from this story, the euphoria generated by the outstanding performance of Juan Carlos Osorio's squad is such that many Mexicans are already buying their plane tickets to enjoy the World Cup. Travel costs range from 32,000 pesos to 48,000, depending on which city the fan will have to travel to. If Mexico reaches the next round, they'll play in Samara, where the price for a round air trip ticket for 15 days is 48,000 pesos. With this option, you'd have to make between 2 and 3 connections before stepping on Russian soil. In addition, the minimum cost of lodging for those days is around 1,200 pesos. The other city where Mexico could play its 8th round match would be St. Petersburg, where the price of airfare starts at 42,000 pesos. Here, the price per night for lodging starts at 844 pesos a room for 2 people, up to 1,000 pesos. The third option is the most accessible. Mexican fans may prefer to fly to Moscow, where the round flight costs between 32,000 pesos, and then take a high-speed train to either of the other two cities for a cost of 44 euros, about 1,020 pesos. All these prices correspond to flights that would leave Mexico City between June the 28th and the 29th, since Mexico's quarter-final match would be on July the 2nd or the 3rd. For those of you that prefer to save some money, according to an analysis by the National Alliance of Small Merchants, the price of family football breakfasts held at home is around 1,400 pesos. During Mexico's last game against South Korea, a kilo of carnitas or barbacoa cost 280 and 360 pesos respectively. Add to that all the sundries to make the perfect taco, tortillas, sauces, garnishes, snacks, soft drinks and beers and ice. In total gave an estimated 1,400 pesos, according to Cuauhtemoc Rivera, president of AMPEC. In other news, the strength of the dollar against the peso is the main reason for foreigners buying real estate in Mexico right now. In 2016 and 2017, the number of closed sales to foreigners rose to 1,105 on an annual average. From 2008 to 2015, it was 663 on average, according to information obtained through a transparency request to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So far, in 2018, there have been 290 properties sold to foreigners. This investment is occurring mainly in the historical centres of colonial cities such as San Miguel de Allende, as well as in the border strip and beach destinations such as Los Cabos and Cancun. From January 2017 to January of this year, the most sought-after locations on Google were beaches such as Puerto Vallarta, Playa del Carmen, Cabo San Lucas and Cancun, as well as destinations such as San Miguel de Allende and Mérida, Yucatan. For some time now, several entities of the real estate market in the country have been looking for the modification of the constitutional article number 27, which would facilitate the purchase of properties by foreigners. This is because it would have a positive impact on the sector, especially in relation to tourist housing, since there would be an increase of 30% in sales of these properties. And finally, let's review the markets. The Mexican peso decreased 0.04% to 19.87 from 19.88 in the previous trading session. On the other hand, the IPC Mexico increased 0.02% to 46,748 from 46,738 in the previous trading session. This was all for today. Thank you for your company. I'm Elliot Bullman. Remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Google+, and log on to MexicoNewsNetwork.com for more information on Mexico and the world. Until next time.